Okay, y'all. Short introduction to this. So, hi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. Today we are going to be reviewing the newest Hellraiser movie that just came out. It was Hulu exclusive, so I'll get into that, my feelings about that in a little bit. I'm gonna be quite honest with you guys. I feel like this is going to be a very, very short video because my feelings for this movie is so neutral, so mid. But before we get into that, if you want to get videos earlier than when I post them here on YouTube or see full-length movie reactions, I highly encourage you to check out my Patreon. You can even join just for $1 and help give general support. I'm thankful for all of my patrons, and the link for that will be in the description below. So let's go ahead and get into this. I feel like I usually do this, but I'm going to start off with the positives. And I was writing my thoughts down as I was watching the movie. And a disclaimer too, I just watched this literally yesterday, so my thoughts are still fresh and they're still in the concept of I've only seen it one time. Kind of the same thing with the first Hellraiser, which if you haven't seen my reaction to that, I really encourage you to do so because I really enjoyed that movie. And it's interesting because it seems like it wouldn't be a movie that I would like, but I loved the very first original Hellraiser, 1987. So go ahead and check that one out if you haven't seen it. But for this one, I didn't know what to expect because I already liked the Hellraiser story and the concept, the characters, Cenobites, whatever. So I already liked a lot of Hellraiser. So going into this, I was excited to see all those things come into play again. The premise for this one is pretty much the same as the first one. Well, I mean, obviously different characters, little bit of different circumstances, a little bit of different things at stake. But the first one, I kind of liked, because the first one, I don't really know if this is gonna be a spoiler, but came out what, like 40 years ago, so who knows. But for the very first original Hellraiser, it follows a woman who is helping this guy reach all of the 7 or all of the configurations of this puzzle box, basically, so that he can, you know, get his wish from these angelic demons, I will say. So for this one, a young woman must confront the sadistic supernatural forces behind an enigmatic puzzle box responsible for her brother's disappearance. Okay, there we go. So her brother disappears and she wants her brother back. So that's kind of her motivation to want to get all of the configurations or all the puzzles solved within this puzzle box. So for the positives, I really enjoyed the music, although the music was, I mean, it was the original theme from the first Hellraiser, so I don't know if that's really a compliment for this 2022 version, but I really loved the music in this one. There were other parts, other music, scenic soundtracks throughout the movie that I really enjoyed, but music was something that I really thought was impeccable, superb. Too, I actually thought that it was decently spooky. Like, there were a couple times where I was like, okay, if I didn't know anything about Hellraiser, if I've never seen the first one or any of the other ones, and I'm watching this one for the first time, I feel like some of the scenes would genuinely spook me. There were times that I thought that it was pretty scary because, like I said, the concept in itself is already pretty scary and well fleshed out as it is. I thought the visuals were pretty good because there's a lot of, I mean, this is kind of just the story of Hellraiser in itself, but a lot of it is you have to sacrifice blood, basically, in order to move on to the next stage, essentially. And I thought the visuals for that were pretty good. However, with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the things I didn't like. And one of the things that I didn't like, because after watching it, I had such a neutral opinion. I've never felt more neutral about a movie in my entire YouTube career than this movie. There was something about the movie that I didn't like, but I just couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. So I was looking on reviews on Letterboxd, which if you guys aren't following me on there, it's just the same thing as my YouTube name, Underwater Flowers. But I was reading a lot of reviews saying that they felt like the makeup effects, the special effects, the makeup artistry, whatever, was just not as good as the first one. And I have to agree, I really do. That was the one thing that I was like, I feel like this is scary, but it's not as scary as it could be, and I don't know why. And it's because the Cenobites specifically, they looked very fake. And this is where it brings in, like I said earlier, the fact that it was a Hulu movie. I don't know if they had a smaller budget because it was straight to Hulu. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it just wasn't as visually pleasing as it could be. And even the first one probably didn't have that big of a budget as well. I mean, I'm not too sure number-wise what the budget was, but it was a movie that came out in the 80s, so you had to get really creative with your special effects, with your makeup and costuming and all of that jazz. And I feel like for this one, it was just average. There were some I keep saying visual effects, I feel like, but that's, I don't know what else to call it. There were some visual effects where they were trying to make it look, ooh. I don't know the words to say. They're just trying to make it look trippy, you know what I mean? But realistic at the same time. And for me, I was like, this looks so fake to me. And it just took me out of it, not gonna lie. Something else that I didn't really like in terms of the story was they did this typical storyline, which I don't really like this because I feel like it happens a lot and it's just boring at this point. And for me, it's just not a good reason for me, it's just not something valid that's gonna add to the story, because in this one, they had the basic trope of ex-addict, she's clean, even though she's clean, people still don't believe her. And they did this a lot. They did this in Bodies, Bodies, Bodies as well. Check out that review as well. But they did that in that movie too, where you don't know who to trust, and the main girl is also ex-addict. She's been clean for months now or whatever. But when something sketchy starts going on and she's like, we need help, we need to do this or that, people don't want to believe them. So I think that trope is kind of annoying. And like I said, I feel like I can think of so many different examples where that happens. For writing wise, it's just, can we use something else, you guys? Like, come on. Also, this guy from 13 Reasons Why was in it. I couldn't tell if it was him or not because he looked so tall, and I feel like I distinctly remember him being short in 13 Reasons Why. Anyways, he's in it. He was good. So another criticism that I saw coming up a lot on Letterboxd was that this movie did not need to be as long as it was. And I definitely agree with that, because I definitely got the feeling like they were just trying to add things. At a certain point, it just felt like they were just stringing it out as long as they possibly can to fill up a runtime. Maybe they had a contract or a deal where they're like, okay, Hulu, we're gonna pick up this movie, but it has to be at least 2 hours long. And they were like, freak, we only have enough written to make about like an hour and a half movie. Because the whole beginning up until like the last, I'd say like 40 to 30, I'd say more to like 30 minutes left, I was understanding. I was getting it, you know what I mean? And especially with the concept of Hellraiser, I feel like you gotta work up to understanding it, because I was definitely kind of confused watching it, and this movie definitely explained the concept a lot better, and that I appreciated. If someone were to watch Hellraiser, never seen the 1987 one, and they just watched this one, I feel like they could understand and grasp the concept and the lore of it all. But again, with that freaking runtime, I felt like things were getting concluded, and then things took a turn, and I was like, how do we still have like 15 minutes left? How do we still have 30 minutes left? And it was just a little long, you know, considering what was going on at the time. It felt like things were wrapping up, and I was like, how the heck is there still 30 minutes left? What else are they gonna do? And finally do everything, and then there's still 15 minutes left, and like, what is going on? Like, what else can happen at this point? And then it was in those last minutes that everything got kind of confusing. Stuff that I thought that I knew that was going on, it got flipped on its head or something, because then things started happening. They try to make different connections, whatever, and I don't understand. I will say I like the ending, like the very last scene I enjoyed, but yeah, I definitely felt like it got confusing for no good reason. Or I guess, like I said, the reason to fill up the runtime because they just absolutely needed to. That's what it felt like. Yeah, there was this one scene that was just really long. I don't care too much about, we gotta do research. You know, on any type of horror movie, well, why is this going on? To the library, and they gotta do all this freaking research, and there's like a whole scene of them doing that. There was a scene like that in this one, but it was long. Oh my gosh, it was so long. I was like, okay, this girl was discovering everything so slow. It wasn't even the fact that the scene itself was long. I felt like the character was just doing everything so slow. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be realistic timing. I get it, but can we put some gaps in there? Some parts of her like walking around. Can we just cut that out and just jump to her already there? I'll understand that she walked there. You don't need to show them just like, flipping the page, reading the whole thing. It's come on. The scene was pretty long in my opinion. And like I said, probably to fill up that runtime that they absolutely needed to, for God knows what reason. So I ended up giving this movie 3 stars. Now I feel at this point in time, I feel like I would rewatch it, but it's not my favorite thing in the world. And most of the people on Letterboxd, most of the reviews are for 3 stars. And I feel like that's the most mid-average, neutral perception of the movie that you can have at this point, because it wasn't super bad. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't the best thing ever either. I feel like that's how all the movies coming out this year have been making me feel. I just have neutral opinions about all of them. We're getting close to providing what the viewers want to see, you know what I mean? I've said this about like so many movies. I think I said that about Bodies by Bodies, The Black Phone, maybe even Nope, but I don't know. Nope was at least better than those two. But we're getting super close to figuring out the formula that we want here in this day and age, but we got a ways to go, you know what I mean? So with that said and done, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons, and especially to AJ, Mark Sylvester, Edward Fisher, and Terrell. Thank you so much, and make sure to go ahead and check out my Patreon if you haven't already. All right, so link for my Patreon, as always, will be in the description below. Go ahead, check it out, see what's in store for you with that. Let me know what you guys thought about this movie, because I feel like I need to discuss it more to understand why I have such a neutral feeling of it. I know how I feel, but I don't know how to put it into words. I still feel very strongly the 3 stars, because 2 stars I feel like is too low. But if you guys comment and we discuss a little bit more, maybe it'll help me get a little bit of a stronger opinion about this movie. Because my opinion right now is, like I said, it's mid. I don't have very strong feelings about it either certain way. I'm in the middle. I'm on a plateau. So if you've seen this movie, let me know what you thought about it, what you would rate it, all that jazz. But thank you for coming along with me on this journey. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz. And as always, thanks for watching.